We just took a look at last year, and everything is better this year, so that's a good thing. Good work on your game. So let's go into the motion here. Let's see what we can clean up. I think we're going to make step one a little bit more fluid. It's a little bit mechanical, a little bit big. Okay, so we can make that a smaller, just a softer step. Okay.
That makes sense.
Setup position is good, so there's no issue with that. If that first step is a little bit big and a little bit forceful, everything past that tends to be more forceful. Okay, so it's that first step can kind of set the tone for the rest of the approach. So just to share a couple different guys here, some of the guys I actually recorded here, so we'll have the same background. Let's look at a couple of guys here. You'll see the first step is just like a half a step, kind of soft and smooth. Okay.
And his second step looked bigger than his first step.
Yeah, the first step of a 5 should be only a half a step. We don't want a full step. It's just to get you in motion. Okay. If you watch yours in comparison, it's bigger and more mechanical. Okay.
With the exaggerated toe up.
Yep, exactly. Okay. So you see how it's just a half a step, nice and smooth. If we look at somebody else, just always kind of super smooth looking is Chris Braither. Same thing, watch the first step. It's small and smooth. Okay. So we can definitely make that a little bit better. Okay. So yours going to feel like a half a step. Okay. If we go to timing positions, you hold it nice and steady on one, so that's a good thing. Ball should go out and down on two. It's going to be about belt level, maybe a hair below the belt. I think you're being a little bit forceful with your push. And when you're more forceful, you see how you're coming close to locking out. Okay. It takes force to lock with the weight in your hand. And if that push is forceful, then your swing tends to be more forceful. Okay. So let's do this. Let's do a little side by side here. We'll get you set up. I'm going to get your foot just about to move. And I'm going to pull up somebody else on the right. We'll use Brad for this just because he has a nice smooth start. Okay, we'll get his foot just about to move as well. So the foot's about to move with both of you. Let's go into the first step. So you can see you have a bigger step that happened in the same amount of time. In theory, a bigger step would take longer, right? So you have a quicker first step than him because it's twice the size, but it happened in the same amount of time.
And there's no need for it to be that quick.
Well, no. And like I said, you would think a bigger step would take longer than a smaller step. Your bigger step didn't take longer than half the size step. So it's big and forceful. Okay?
Yeah.
You see, you're both off the back toe, and they were both synced up. Okay? Now let's go to the push. See how you're almost locked? He's not. You're off your second step quicker because your arm is quicker. If I get him off his back foot there, it's only a tenth of a second, really. And you see the ball height's similar, but your arms look longer. Well, the one they are probably. But you can see he's not locked, you are. Okay. Let's go to the next step. Okay. Okay, so not too bad. And his swing will go higher, so he'll be higher on the next step than you are. Okay. Let's go to the following step, and your swing is fine. Okay, you don't need as big a swing as him. Let's go to the finish. I think we can clean up your finish a little bit today. And I have a feeling your finish might get better and more consistent by us working on your start. Okay. It's probably better than last year, I think. You have more stability, it looks like, than last year. We can still work on keeping that back foot down.
Yep.
Okay.
When I got locked in last night, I could tell my back foot was down during that stretch.
Good. Excellent. Yep. Okay. So we can smooth out your start a little bit. But this is going to be way more fine-tuning. Last year was more of a change. This year is just more fine-tuning.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. And, you know, I can't lie to people because I have to prove what I'm saying. Okay. Now, this is a different shot today from the side. It's going to look the same. Okay. So you can see the first step a little bit big, a little bit forceful. Okay. Push away is very close. It's just a little bit on the big side. Kind of a good but silly analogy for a push away. Imagine your bowling ball is a motion sensor bomb. So if you move it too abruptly, you're going to blow your arms off. Okay. And this is close. You're close on that. It might be a little bit quick and forceful. If we go back to like somebody like Brad, let's go back to
The
Brad
thought
here.
is just kind of let it roll out.
Yep. Look, very smooth and soft with the push away. Okay. Even not that you were neither one of us are two-handed, but I have a two-hander here. Very powerful bowler, Chris Vi. Okay.
Oh yeah.
If we watch his side view here, where's the side view? Okay. In fact, let's look at this one here. Where is this?
He's bowling this week. He's here.
Yeah, he's done bowling nationals. Yeah. But same thing. Look at the pace of the push. It's very smooth and soft. Okay. So we never want force from the beginning. You want to ease into your momentum. All right, let's go back to you, and we're going to look at a couple things from the back view. And from the back view, I think things actually look pretty good here. Just trying to get your clips up on the bottom. Let's do it this way. Oops. Okay. So from the back, and that's a view most people watch, when you can't see size of step, you can't see push away. And from the back view, things look pretty good. You're walking fairly straight. Your swing stays fairly straight. So really from the back, it looks pretty good. Okay. It's always good to watch yourself bowl like it's not you. You know how we watch everybody else, we form our own opinion of how they bowl.
Oh yeah.
And some bowlers just appeal to our eye more than other bowlers. Whereas even some of the touring guys, they might be super good, but you just don't like how they bowl. Other bowlers you can just watch all day. You should watch your own game like it's not you and say, oh, that guy throws it really good. And then look closer, like, oh, that's me. You don't want to watch it like it's not you and say, oh, that guy needs some help. Oh, shit, that's me. Okay.
Be positive.
Well, and if you watch it like it's not you, you have a more of an open mind. Like if you didn't know this guy, you would comment if I said, what do you think about his swing? They're like, oh, that looks like a decent swing. Like nothing weird going on. Okay. So that's a good thing.
No Nick Pate going on.
Okay. If we look at another one from the back, it looks about the same. Okay. So not bad. And like I said, we can fine tune the finish, really work on keeping that back foot down. Okay. Kind of works both ways. If you get a little bit aggressive and pull hard, the foot will come up. If you get really aggressive, you fall off. If you work on keeping the foot down, your body figures out you can't pull so hard. Okay. Let's go to your hand motion. And I think this is pretty close too, actually. Okay. As the ball swings, your hand on the back of the ball, that's a great position. Think about the vertical equator of the ball. You're kind of right in the center with the hand. The fingers are just here inside the equator. That's a good position. Maintain that on the way up and on the way down. Pretty close with that. Okay.
Definitely last year I was out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Check it out. Okay.
that's before you start your release. Fingers are in the center. They have a little rotation. You come through. That's really pretty good. Okay. So, sometimes when people come in for a session like this, they feel like they're bowling badly. And then once they see the video, they realize they're not as much of a train wreck as they may feel they are. And I think you're in that boat.
Good.
Because there's way more good than bad here. Guys, you've done really nice work on your game. Okay. But that release is actually quite good.
Why is it so low rev? Is
Uh,
that just a mental thing I need to get over?
Not necessarily. And your rev rate is probably, I would guess, in the kind of upper 200 range. Okay. Which is not crazy low. Some like Karen Dorland Ballard, her rev rate's 240, 250 at the most.
Okay. She scored good sometimes.
Absolutely. It's more about hand position than rev rate. I've worked with guys with 450 rev rates and their ball never reads the lane right because their hand position is not good. So it's way more about hand position than rev rate. Okay.
And hand position meaning lower and left.
Not turning as early. Yes. We don't want you to start your release from the right half of the ball. Okay.
And I'm still doing that some?
Nope, not so much.
Okay.
You're right about here. Okay. You have a little rotation. Thumb comes out. I'll use a quick example for you. So you can see it's really quite close here. I might have used this example last year, but it's hard not to use a good example, so I'll use it again. I'll use Danielle.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, and it helped me to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all visual, so once you see things, it's easier to feel things. And that's the beauty of videos and mirrors can't lie. So right there, her thumb is out, her fingers are in. So you see that's pretty close to what we see with you. Okay. If I go back 3/10 of a second with her, we go back 3/10 of a second with you. So you see it's close. Your wrist might be going around a hair early compared to hers. Okay. Let's go up a little bit more with you.
Sometimes it feels like, oh no, I'm just coming straight up the back. This
Right.
ball's not going to have any action on it.
Okay. Go up one more with you here. So you can see how the kind of the base of her palm and her wrist and the low forearm stayed a little bit straighter. You see I have that curve.
Yeah.
So sometimes when the wrist goes around earlier, the ball has a less strong ball roll.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, how
So
does that relate to the curve of the wrist?
well, your wrist is going around earlier. Okay. So her wrist is
So
staying
that
more.
curve is because it's already coming around.
Yes. You see that angle you have here?
Yes.
She doesn't have that.
She doesn't, and that's
Okay.
good.
So when we come up, there's a good position there with you. I'll get her down a little bit. So you can see right here, it's about the same. Okay. So you could think from the top of the swing down that the base of the palm of the wrist just stay in by that equator a hair longer would be the positive sense of don't come around as soon. But from what you said, it's already way less around as soon as compared to last year. So it's just a process of teaching your body that. Okay.
And thinking.
It's more like the base of the palm, the wrist, and the lower forearm.
Okay.
We don't want the fingers in and that part out.
We don't want that.
No, we want that part stay in more, and then you rotate through the ball. If the wrist is out and the fingers are in, the wrist kind of comes that way, and the fingers don't do as much because the wrist is out past the circumference of the ball almost. Okay. If I show you another good example here for you, would be let's use Brad for this.
I saw a video, might have been Chris Prather, and he said, "Oh yeah, to get more, I just do this."
Well, we actually worked on that with Chris when he was here after the Masters of keeping that in because his was going around too much and his ball wasn't even in the lane the right way. This is Brad before he starts his release. So you see the fingers are just inside the equator, but the wrist is at the center. And then he just rotates through the ball. Okay. So same thing if I get your thumb out and your fingers in, it's going to be fairly close to this. You'll see a slight difference. Okay. If we go back a few tenths of a second with you, and we go back a few tenths of a second with him. So you see how there's less of a gap. So this part stays in. And with Prather, we actually worked on this with Prather. Now, with the touring guys, I always ask, like, what do you not like on the lane that's happening? Because that's really what working on the physical game is. It's to create better, more consistent ball motion. Okay, is the main reason. And he said there's too many times where when he throws his ball, he's not sure what it's going to do until after it does it. Okay. And then he made the comment that he's trying to slow his hand down. To me, that made zero sense. Because EJ Tackett is so good because his hand is so loose and quick. So it didn't make sense when he said, I'm trying to slow my hand down. So I kept asking more and more questions. And we finally decided is his wrist is going around her too quickly, is what he was saying when he was trying to slow his hand down. I'm going to show you two videos of him with his release. Let's pull up this one first. And then I'll pull up the new one on the right. All right, so let's get down to his hip here. Right to about there, and we'll get this one to about the same spot. One more click. So you can see that it's very close right there. Now, if I click them both forward, oops, I went too far on the one on the right. Okay, you see that very close. This one is advancing more than I want. There we go. Watch the wrist on the left compared to the wrist on the right.
It's the bend straighter.
Now you can really see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
His wrist is actually going past the circumference of the ball, which we never want. Okay.
Yeah.
The first
His
shot,
tail was straight up
yeah,
and down.
and see now the circumference is past the wrist. Okay.
Okay.
So the first shot he threw, like the one on the right, he's like, "Oh, my ball read lanes differently." And within 3 shots, he's like, "I know what my ball's doing now." Okay. So that's the same thing with you. It's the base of the palm and the lower part of the wrist and forearm. We want to keep that in a hair longer. We just give you a stronger ball roll. Okay. If we,
More fun.
yep. If we continue here, you see how close. Like, that looks almost the same, doesn't it? But it got there differently. If we go backward again, that's where you really see the difference. That's where you see the difference starting to happen. Here they look the same. Every click is a tenth of a second. So you see how small of a thing, but it makes a big difference. Okay. So we can kind of clean that up with you.
Amazing. The
Okay.
amount on this.
Yep. And then here we see the back foot's down, kind of on the pinky toe side of the shoe. Okay. So you see,
That's
we,
picture perfect.
yep, we can kind of clean a couple things up. From the side view, we'll see his balance position. Back foot stays down, toes point left, so he's on the pinky toe part of that back shoe. Okay. And that's just going to give you better balance and leverage, which in itself can equate to better, stronger ball motion. Okay. But you've done 75, 80% of the hard work already. So that's a good thing. Let's stop recording here. Save all that. But that's why I like keeping the old stuff too, so you can see how much you've changed. You know, as you're the one working on your game.